Good morning, boys and girls. Today is Tuesday, April the 14th. It is day 2 of our life cycle of a chicken unit. We have 19 days left until our eggs hatch. Now, yesterday we looked at our incubator and we set the eggs up inside the incubator. So let's take a little peek at that. This first number is your temperature. We want it to be at 99.5, which it is perfectly. This one is your humidity level, which is how much water is in the air. You want it between 50 and 55%. It got up to around 61% yesterday. So I took this little air vent, which you can open and shut and let in more air or let out some air. And I opened it a little bit more to drop that humidity level down a little bit. So we'll be watching it today. We want it to stay between 50 and 55%. And again, that is how wet the air is inside the incubator. And then what you have is a built-in automatic counter and turner. So this is telling you that this machine turns the eggs back and forth about once an hour. It does. When we had a different incubator that was a little more manual and you had to do these things yourself, what I would do is I would come in first thing in the morning and I would turn the eggs. I'd take a black permanent marker and put an X on one side of the eggs and an O on the other side. So I'd leave them on the X side in the morning, then I would turn them over to the O side around lunchtime and then back to the X side late afternoon before I went home. So 3 times a day I would turn them. That is roughly what the mama hen does in the wild or in a coop that you have. Is she will sit on these eggs for 21 days non-stop. She only gets up to go to the bathroom and to get some food and water. That's it. And so for about 3 times a day, once in the morning, once at about midday, and once in the afternoon before she goes to sleep, she will get up off of her eggs. But other than that, it is hot, wet, sticky underneath her feathers while she sits on top of these eggs. So this incubator is trying to be the mama hen. We are trying to create the same atmosphere that is underneath her feathers. We're trying to create that in the incubator. So we rotate them. When it was manual, I rotated them 3 times a day. These are being rotated about once an hour. We are totally filled up inside here. So we have 6 eggs per row. Maybe you can do a little math with this morning. 6 eggs per row. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So see if you can figure out what that would be. Older grapes, 6 times 5. Younger grapes, we're going to add 6 5 times. We're going to say 6 plus 6 is, and then this number plus 6 more, and then that number plus 6 more, and that number plus 6 more. So we'll see if we can do that today. What I want to do now is look at our slides for day 2. This is where we started yesterday. We introduced our first 3 vocabulary words. Incubator, that's what we just talked about. It is the machine that's trying to act like the mama hen, right? It's a place that keeps the eggs warm while the chickens are growing inside. A chicken is a kind of bird. Eggs are an oval shape that has a yolk, and a chicken may grow inside it. So when we look at the chickens, we do see that they are a type of bird, right? They can fly. They have different kinds of feathers. We're going to talk about that as we go along. Primary feathers, they have tail feathers. But they can fly. In fact, if you keep them in your backyard without a top on the coop that you have, they will fly up in the trees as protection at night, and then they'll fly back down. So if you have a coop that does not have a roof on it, typically what farmers will do is they'll trim the feathers. They'll cut the feathers off on one side and leave them long on the other side, because they will fly as high as a tree, like maybe 15 feet up. They don't go much higher than that, but they'll fly up in the tree for protection at night and then fly back down. If you don't want them to fly across the coop or over your head, then you can trim one side of their feathers. It doesn't hurt. It's like cutting your fingernails. It does not hurt at all. On day 1, we learned that even though it just looks like a big yellow mass there and you can't really see anything, there's a lot happening. The head, brain, and eyes began to form yesterday on day 1. These are different breeds of chickens. There are many, many, many different kinds. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Why do we have different color eggs in there? Some of our eggs are brown, dark brown, pink, spotted. Some eggs are blue, green. I've even seen a black chicken, totally black chicken, who has a black beak, black comb, black wattle, everything. The meat on the inside of the chicken is actually black, and they lay black eggs. Really, really cool. So you can have different kinds of chickens, just like you have different breeds of cats, different breeds of dogs that you have. That's why we have different eggs, and while they'll look a little different when they are hatched. This is day 2, so we're going to learn 3 new words today. These are words I want to see my students use in their writing. So as we learn these real juicy vocabulary, non-fiction words, we're going to write them in our fiction story, our narrative story that we're writing called Let Me Out. So here's a word you might use in your writing today: hen. A hen is a female chicken, right? And when you start looking at the difference between a hen and a rooster, a female and a male, you can see some differences in their bodies, right? Look at how the rooster sits up nice and tall. Oh, I flipped the screen. Let me go back. He looks really muscular in his chest, doesn't he? He walks around, struts around like he is just the owner of the place. His rooster, his tail feathers come up and over, don't they? Totally different than a hen's body. A hen will sit shorter to the ground. Her body is wider and shorter. She is not nearly as aggressive, although if you mess with her babies, she is. And sometimes when they're wanting to have babies and they're sitting in the nest on top of their eggs, it's hard to get your hand up underneath them just to get the eggs out, because she is very protective of her eggs and of her babies. But the rooster's job is to protect all of the hens. So that's his job. He is a protector. He is a fighter. If predators come into the coop or come into the area where they roam freely, he will be the one to fight them and take care of the hens. So a hen's body sits shorter, it's wider, their feathers look different, don't they? They do not have a huge comb up on top of their head. Some hens have a little bit taller comb, but roosters always have a really, really, really tall comb, a big wattle, and it's mainly dark, deep red, bright red, where a hen's will be sort of pink and not nearly as bright. So we have hen, the word hen today, a female chicken. We have rooster, which means a male chicken. And then we've talked about this word a lot this year. We've talked about observe. We do this in every single science experiment that we've done this year. When we studied the decomposition of a pumpkin with the book Pumpkin Jack, we did a lot of observations. We made a lot of observations of that process. When we've looked at the life cycle of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, when we planted lima beans, we have observed all the different stages of growth, haven't we? That's what we're going to do during this process as well. So on day 2, when my students are writing today in their book that says, "Let me out," this is what their book looks like. And it will say, on day 2, my veins and heart began to form. My heart begins to beat. I wonder. So think for just a minute. Remember, this is a narrative story. It's like you're telling a pretend story, right? Except you're using real information in it. So imagine that you are a chicken stuck inside of an egg just beginning to form. And all of a sudden, your heart begins to beat. And you hear something going, do-do, do-do, do-do. What would you wonder about that? What do you wonder about that sound? So listen to your story. On day 2, my veins and heart began to form. My heart begins to beat. Do-do, do-do. You hear that inside. Do-do, do-do. I wonder, how much you finish that sentence? I wonder what that noise is. I wonder where I am. I wonder what I am. And you might tell the story this morning about what that sounds like inside the egg. Your heart begins to beat. The veins and heart begin to form, and the heart begins to beat. Today is Tuesday, April the 14th. We are on day 2. We have 19 days left. How exciting!